Hey, babe. Live chat.
My notification went off and everything.
Hey, anyone there? Sorry for the slow start, guys. A geothermal evening to us all. Hello, Generation X. Thanks for tuning in. First time I've seen you on this channel. Welcome. Yeah, that's good fun, isn't it? Mining Bitcoin with volcanoes. You love to see it. Of course, Iceland been doing it for a while. Maybe not volcanoes, but geothermal energy anyway. It's a really nice counter to the energy FUD people that we can mine with this. That's real. With volcanoes, man. What can you say to that, Elon Musk? Mining with volcanoes, eh? I guess the only thing that sucks is it's the state level rather than private. But we'll get to that. This thing is a mixed blessing. It's not just amazing and it's perfect, because any minute now the whole thing could blow up in our face, in my opinion. Like living on a volcano. Sounds interesting. Hello, James Creevy. Sorry, I gotta look at my phone for the chat because it's not working in the stream window. What sounds interesting, James? What is it? Yeah, so I think Bitcoin just entered new territory now. This is war now. I expect the United States government and the IMF to go absolutely crazy now, and I can't wait to see it. I know Bitcoin will win, but El Salvador, ironically, might get crucified for this as an example to everyone else. But you know, how appropriate that they should be named after the Saviour. If that is what ends up happening. I think it is what ends up happening. I'm just going to share this stream, actually. Sorry, guys, just making a tweet. Let's see if anyone tunes in from there. So many Dr. Evil memes. It's just beautiful. Glad to say if you see any Dr. Evil memes in response to the news, it was me that started that. Okay, Volcanoes and Dr. Evil. Trinity. I've come to believe everything that happens with Bitcoin is part of the process. Bitcoin has trained us for all adversity. Exactly. It's always a temptation of mine to try and warn people, but people don't learn, and people are people. And Bitcoin accepts people for what they are, so I should try and do that too. What people will do is they'll get very excited about El Salvador and they'll celebrate them, and then El Salvador would do something annoying like launch a shitcoin, or say you can only use the government mandated app, or something annoying like that. But it won't matter because Bitcoin is built to be government proof. So governments can use Bitcoin, but they can't work against it. They'll try, but they'll get wrecked like Elon Musk did. So I'm not worried about it, but other people are, and that causes ups and downs in the market. But then downs in the market are my favorite because they get rid of all the people that aren't in it for the ideology. So at the end, everything in Bitcoin is self-correcting, and we end up with everything getting better no matter what happens. All the problems with El Salvador forcing Bitcoin on their population the way they're not being so forceful about it, but Bitcoin is designed for people to opt out of a financial system. It's not supposed to become something that you're forced into ever. So there are going to be some businesses that are like, what is this? Everyone wants to pay me in Bitcoin, and I don't even know how to take this. I don't even know how to use an iPad. Like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit annoying, and people are going to grumble about it and feel frustrated. But, it's like that old one, like libertarians threatening to take over the world and leave you alone. It's like that old adage. So it's a good thing, even if some people have a bit of a technical mountain to climb with it. Should be fine. Wondering if anyone's going to tune in from Twitter. Hold this L. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, Trinity. Not the bad things that happen with Bitcoin are ultimately not just ineffective, but they're useful, because bad things happen to everyone and bad things happen to everything. But when bad things happen to Bitcoin and it survives them, you think, wow, this thing is so tough it can survive anything. I really can trust it with my life savings, because I've seen it get attacked in the worst ways and I've seen it survive those attacks. And if Bitcoin was built to be anti-fragile and the strongest, most resilient network in the world, if it was built for that but you never saw it get tested, you wouldn't believe it the way you do now, because Bitcoin's it's been under attack from its lead developer. It's had its biggest exchange collapse and steal everyone's coins. It's had the richest man in the world attack it relentlessly. It's up against the US dollar. It's up against the Federal Reserve. There is nothing that needs to be more correctly and carefully built so that it can maintain strength and resilience in the face of adversity than Bitcoin. It's just so powerful. So powerful. Sounds interesting. Oh yeah, James, the subject. Yeah, the Saviour, of course, a reference to El Salvador's English translation. It means the Saviour. I'm not really going to celebrate El Salvador too much this stream. Obviously, they're doing a good thing by encouraging their citizens to use Bitcoin, but it's hardly the best country in the world. It seems a lot of people are talking about moving there now, but it's, from what I've seen, the crime rate is really, really high. So I'm not about to move my family there yet, though I think within a year or two things could transition very, very rapidly as a lot of wealth enters. You could start to have some very nice pockets of safety, and they're charging 3 Bitcoin for permanent residents, and that's a flat fee that they said they will never change. So right now that's about 100,000 US, but that will go up a lot very quickly as a result of this kind of thing. But more interestingly, and what I think is good, but needs to keep going on, is the rest of South America need to jump on this right away. But I don't know how fast they'll be, and they need to move fast right now, because the IMF and the US government are going to go absolutely ballistic about this. They have a meeting tomorrow with the president of El Salvador, and I think they're going to tear him a new asshole, because this is, like Trump said, this is an attack on the US dollar, and he's right, it is. But if we can hope to win it in these areas, we need a lot, and we need it quickly. So we need all the other countries that are starting to have their politicians put laser eyes in their profile pictures. That's Brazil, Paraguay, Panama, Argentina, and 2 or 3 others that escape me right now. But nonetheless, Brazil is huge. Mexico as well. So we've got Mexico and Brazil, and that accounts for nearly all of Latin America, to be honest, those 2 countries, because they're just so big. But then you've got Argentina, Paraguay, and obviously El Salvador. You've got so many countries that are going for this thing. The US and the IMF can't attack all of them. It can single out El Salvador and make an example of them. So El Salvador needs the other countries to have its back if they don't want to get punitively penalized for abandoning the US dollar. And trust me, that's coming. We've got a lot of anger and salt from these institutions, and they're ramping up the FUD. And it's nice that this volcano thing's happening, because it's such a strong and powerful, it's such a beautiful demonstration of Bitcoin's draw to people that want to to the fact that people can mine using renewable energy. Safadine already tweeted about this. He says people don't want to live on volcanoes, so energy that's generated by volcanoes is cheap, and transporting energy is expensive. So again, it's the same argument I'm always making about energy. Bitcoin miners will use volcanoes because it's fine. They don't have to live there. They can just set up their mining operation there, and they can commute to it. But they don't need to invest in buying a house that they're going to live in for 20 years on something that might blow up one day and melt their whole every earthly possession. So again, there's so much energy on this planet that isn't fossil fuels, that's renewable, but it's just in undesirable locations, and it's always uneconomical for people to make use of them. So what changes with this? Bitcoin miners just care about the energy. They just want cheap energy. So they'll go to your unpleasant location. They'll sit in the middle of a volcano. Das Record. Hey man, cheers again from Vancouver. Wanted your advice on developing a music festival, focus Bitcoin Lightning native wallet, message on Signal. Yeah man, I'll try and hit you up about that. Even the Bitcoin Conf had a severe lack of people paying for things in Bitcoin. Most people just use dollars, because even if Bitcoin was the greatest and most convenient payment network in the world for buying coffee, even if that's not the case, but even if it was, Bitcoiners don't want to spend Bitcoin. They want to spend dollars, and I don't blame them. El Salvador pump will not last in the short term, but more countries will come on board. Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I'm bearish the market right now. I think we need to go down further, because I know that this is old wisdom, but the market moves in a way that will hurt the most amount of people. And in Bitcoin's case, it will punish those that aren't here for the ideological promise of it. They're just here for the money. And those people haven't given up yet, but they will give up around 25K, because all the good news in the world, everything's going great for Bitcoin this week. And what do we see? A tiny little, ascension. We're at 37,000 right now. I don't think this is the fact that good news can't seem to even move us up much anyway. Tells me that the market just wants to go down at the moment. That doesn't mean I'm about to short, and this is certainly not a trading or a financial advice channel, but we're going down, and I think we're going to go down quite hard, and it's going to be very anticlimactic for a lot of people who are euphoric right now, and that will be the time to buy, and then I think the bull market will resume. And I think it's going to be like 2013 was, where we go up a lot, down, crush everyone's dreams, and then go up way more. I think 100K is happening. I think 500,000 is probably the upper bound of how optimistic you could be, but I think it's happening and it will happen soon. But a lot of people, there's still coins belonging to weak hands right now, and they need to move to strong hands, otherwise we're just not going to make it. But it will happen. I'm pretty confident that will happen. First country to make Bitcoin legal tender. That is absolutely worthy of celebration. Currency that is legal tender is the proper definition of money. Yeah and no. Like, don't get me wrong, Moon Settler. I am definitely celebrating this. I did see it as inevitable as well. It's a bit weird. Bitcoin, I would kind of like, my ideal world of adoption for Bitcoin is every single pleb and disenfranchised person in the world adopts Bitcoin, and governments fight it the entire time, and then when every single person is involved except the authorities, then they adopt it. I don't really want to see countries adopting it before even most people know what it is, because, I mean, while I can't stop it, it's not really it's not, something about it's just not quite right, and it's a bit hard to put into words, but I'll come back to that point. But when you say currency that is legal tender is the proper definition of money, I don't really care about what the proper definition of money is. Like, that just sounds like a prescriptive mentality. Like, Bitcoin is better money than anything else, and it's pretty awful to use as a medium of exchange, and that's why most people who are descriptivist in their thinking think Bitcoin isn't a money because I can't buy coffee with it. The problem is we've mainly focused on money as being a medium of exchange, and for that reason most people think Bitcoin isn't money, and that's true still to this day. I think Bitcoin is the best money ever invented, and it is the best money ever invented. It's just the most trivial use case for money, which is medium of exchange, isn't really fleshed out yet. But as and when that gets developed, it will be fine. Omatsu, hello again. Thanks for coming back. I think you were on the channel last time as well. Was thinking El Salvador is going to get hammered for this. I think they're going to get absolutely beaten down into the ground, but I think they'll survive. I think, like, I don't want to get ridiculous, but they're called El Salvador. They're going to get crucified and they will resurrect, and the entire world will see as an example of what it will be, a beautiful demonstration of what happens to you if you adopt Bitcoin. That's going to be quite stunning. Or they just get backed up by the rest of South America. But I think the rest of South America, America is strong and the IMF is strong, and they are going to have their boot on their necks pretty soon, and it's going to start tomorrow from this meeting. Honk Hogan, what's up? Not much, man. Excited, could barely sleep last night, but it's time to be a bit more realistic about what's going on with El Salvador. It's not all good, but it is inevitable, and a lot of it is good, and we are happy. We are genuinely happy about this. But remember, we were so happy about Tesla accepting Bitcoin, because not only did Tesla accept Bitcoin, they said everything right. They said, we're not going to sell the Bitcoins we get. We're running open source software. We're running our own nodes. Oh, look, we found a bug in BTC Pay server. Here you go. We fixed it. Found 3 critical bugs. Everything was going great with Tesla. Remember that. And now, basically, Elon Musk is our biggest problem. So you never know what happens with El Salvador. I'm not saying don't be happy, but I'm saying don't sell when they turn around to become idiots, because we don't need them, and they need us, and eventually they will figure that out if they ever do turn into the Elon Musk 2.0. Time to learn Spanish. Sí, apréndelo. I'm only counting in Bitcoin right now, so the price doesn't matter. I know, man. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. That's the right approach, Trinity. I agree with you. That's what they're going to do as well. They already said 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. That's why we're charging 3 Bitcoin for residency, and we will never change that. I think if they do end up changing their mind on that, it will be because they decrease the price. Okay, you can buy permanent residency for 1 Bitcoin. It's quite expensive, by the way. That's 100 grand right now for 3 Bitcoin to buy permanent residency to El Salvador. I don't think that's worth it. I think I'll wait and see if the country manages to sort out its problems first, because I'd rather live in Mexico. There are lots of safe pockets. Like, I have a family. I don't want to be like, the risk of kidnap. If you're an obvious Bitcoiner that moves into one of the most poor countries in the world, and I don't want to paint a target on my back in a country with that much poverty. No way. Certainly not with 2 little girls that no thanks. I don't even want to think about that. But Mexico, there's plenty of places around there that are perfectly safe, and Mexico might adopt it soon as well. Mexico, the current president seems kind of ballsy. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he stands up next to El Salvador and goes for it, and that would help. The minute the IMF and America are fighting on two fronts, they're going to lose. But right now, it's the International Monetary Fund and Joe Biden's administration, and they are angry, and they're going to absolutely be fuming tomorrow. So let's see what happens. Because on that Spaces call last night on Twitter with the president of El Salvador, he seems like a nice guy. He seems pretty clever, but I don't think he knows how much trouble he's in. I think he's in for a slap. Omatsu, yes. I don't know what I said. Honk Hogan, yeah, we shouldn't simp too hard. Exactly. Like, I think we're gonna simp, and then if El Salvador does what Elon did, then we're gonna go fucking ballistic and rip them to pieces, and that's just what Bitcoiners do. I'm not gonna fight it. Like, people are so, like, snobbish and superior. Like, oh, one day Elon Musk's the greatest guy in the world, then he's against Bitcoin, now we hate him. Oh, we're just so tribal. Like, so what? That's what humans do. I don't want to feel like I want to go away with the emotions of it. It's fun. Like, today we love El Salvador. When they announced they're using Ethereum as well, then I'm gonna fucking tear them a new asshole. Like, so what? Humans do this. I like it. Let's be tribal about it. Tribalism is what makes Bitcoin win in a big way, because we're not perfect. We're not rational actors. We're not calm. We're all ridiculous. Let's just be ridiculous together. Bitcoin is ridiculous. The laser eyes on Twitter, I love it. The president of El Salvador, 6 Latin American presidents now, I think, have laser eyes in their profile pictures. Unreal, just unreal. It's fun, and people want to be snobbish about it. Yeah, I don't think you can avoid disappointment. Right now, I'm pleased with El Salvador. They've said everything right. They've said you don't have to use the government wallet that we're making. That's good. They said it's legal tender, so in 90 days you have to accept it. But look, if you can't, we'll help you. It's not like we're going to come and confiscate your business license because you couldn't figure out how to use a Bitcoin wallet. They've said that. I don't know how true it is. I don't trust it either, because governments are shit things. I don't like governments. Bitcoin is designed to be government proof. It's designed not to require this stuff. But it looks like their intention is to do what we want them to do, which is to just use Bitcoin as and where it's possible, and break any sort of ties to the United States dollar. It looks like that's what their intention is, and I respect that, because that's ultimately good for their population. We are... Hold on, what are you saying? MS-13, anyone? I don't know what that is, mate. Should I Google it? MS-13. An international criminal gang that originated Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s. Originally, the gang was set up to protect Salvadorian immigrants from other gangs in the Los Angeles area. This is interesting, man. Thank you. Over time, the gang grew into a more traditional crime organization. MS-13 is defined by its cruelty and its rivalry with the 18th Street Gang. Many MS-13 members were deported to El Salvador after the close of the Salvadorian Civil War in 1992, or upon being arrested, facilitating the spread of the gang to Central America. The gang is currently active in many parts of the continental United States, Canada, Mexico, and Central America. What about El Salvador? Most members are Central American, Salvadorans in particular. Okay, well, El Salvador is in Central America. Sounds like a nasty group, for sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of nasty stuff there. It's a very poor country, so people are going to resort to some really, really evil behavior and some theft. There's going to be theft is rife. But, I mean, Canada's fucked in a different way. So, you pick your demons, man. Pick your battles. What has El Salvador got to lose? Nothing. That's why it is El Salvador that's starting with it. It's not going to be France. When this was This was one criticism that was really annoying. People saying, "Lol, Bitcoiners are happy because El Salvador accepts it. What a joke! Like, come back to me when it's like a country with a GDP bigger than like your average tech company or something." And it's like, look, yeah, what? Someone retorted, "What country did you expect to go first with this? Did you expect it to be, Australia or France or something like that?" No, it's not going to be that. It's going to be a country, like you say, that has nothing to lose. And El Salvador has nothing to lose. But they're going to do so well out of it if they don't screw up that everyone else is not going to be able to resist. Will they change their reserves if they have any to Bitcoin? Yeah, they've got some sort of trust they're building up. I don't know exactly the details of it, but they're buying a lot of Bitcoin. They're storing it, and that will be used somehow within some government infrastructure as a backup or a reserve to what goes on in their economy. They're not. I don't think they're talking about issuing notes with Bitcoin that represent Bitcoin being held somewhere. I don't think they're doing that. They're just getting everyone to use Android apps and Bitcoin Lightning wallets and Strike and stuff like that. They're not actually bothering, I think, with currency, with physical paper notes that represent Bitcoin held in reserves. I don't think they're actually doing that. And it wouldn't be a problem if they did, because there are cryptographic proofs you can do to make sure that what you're getting is legitimate, but there still would be a potential for fraud within that. It's not stupid. I think it's fine to use paper that represents gold or something else. I don't think that's the problem with the money we have now. The problem with the money we have now is that people think it's backed by gold, but it isn't, and they haven't done any research. So if there's cryptographic verification you can do for the money you have, it would just require another layer sitting on top of Bitcoin that says, here's the Bitcoin, here's the UTXO in the blockchain. This piece of paper represents that UTXO. But then your problem is, how do you know there aren't two pieces of paper representing the same UTXO? You'd have to have another network that verified this and a separate number. So it's an interesting problem to think about, but it might be quite necessary. But I don't think it's really necessary, and I don't think it can be done well enough immediately, intuitively. I think there's too much potential for fraud. So let me backpedal a little bit. I think while it might happen, it's not necessary enough that I'm going to want it to happen. I think I would much rather see El Salvadorans just use Bitcoin wallets proper and use the main chain or Lightning. That's what I'd like to see. I don't think I'm so into the idea of them using the Bitcoin reserves to produce a paper currency that represents those reserves, because the potential for fraud is too difficult. The point of Bitcoin is that you can, if I send you Bitcoin with a Raspberry Pi, you can verify whether or not you have Bitcoin. If I give you a piece of paper that represents Bitcoin held in El Salvador's central bank, that becomes something that's a lot more difficult to verify, and there's all these trusted elements to it that I don't really like. They can do a pretty good job of it, but I don't think I want to start thinking about that now. You crack me up. Thanks, Mr. Electron. I appreciate that. I'm not sure why I crack you up, but I'm happy that I do. I've posted some good memes today. Dr. Evil is this is Dr. Evil's greatest day, in my opinion. Lasers and volcanoes. I mean, do I need to say any more? This is, if you've seen Austin Powers today, you shouldn't have been able to stop laughing today. I haven't been able to stop laughing. The memes are just fantastic. I found out, I tried to post some stuff about Julian Assange's brother and his father traveling across America to raise awareness of Julian's plight, and I announced their tour that they're doing, and had no engagement whatsoever. And my tweets have been pretty big lately. I'll get like 100 or maybe 400 or 500 likes on tweets. This thing got 2 likes because no one's paying any attention, because this is not a slow news day where people care about an 8-year-long political struggle. Everyone's just too hyped about El Salvador, so I need to tweet that again on the next slow news day. Das Record. What kind of music do you like to produce? Good question, man. I haven't been making music for a while. I used to make house, and I've made a lot of ballads as well, and made a lot of jazz music and some weird, like, just just beat stuff. I like to make a lot of like I went down that whole Moonbaton that Moonbaton rabbit hole for a while, but not for long. Yeah, and I made a lot of pop music, for want of a better word. Should we visit El Salvador to see the proof in the pudding? And Michael Saylor going on Herr Hannity today. Who's Herr Hannity again? He's not one of these open mouth price discovery YouTube channels, is he? It's that German guy with that huge channel, is that right? Maybe not. Should we visit El Salvador? Yeah, man. I mean, I would love to go and visit El Salvador and go to wherever Bitcoin is really taking off there. There's a Bitcoin beach, right? I mean, that's a location in El Salvador. I would love to check it out. I'm not going to. I've got too much else to do. And I've got, like I said, the safety of my family is a concern. It is it's one of the most crime-ridden countries in Latin America. It's really not. You're going to have to be careful there. It's not like, it's not like Puerto Vallarta in Mexico or something like that. It's not super tourist friendly. Like you can backpack there, but you're going to want to be careful. So yeah, please visit it. Please let us know. Please don't let fear run your life like it does most people. But nonetheless, it's not going to be for everyone. I think I'd love to see some people visit it and document what they see. There's a total media blackout on Assange. I know, man, but I tweeted this stuff on Bitcoin Twitter. And Bitcoin Twitter is for the people rejected by mainstream culture anyway. So I expect it will do well. I'll push this tour that his brother and father are doing in a couple of days when all the hype about El Salvador's gone down. But if Brazil and Mexico jump on it like it looks like they're going to, then I don't know. Frankly, I think it's the war. This is Bitcoin's war. It's beginning. It's June 2021. This is it. I think we're about to start the war. That eventual final showdown between fiat currency, US dollar hegemony, and Bitcoin. I think that we've finally seen a visible attack. That's why Trump tweeted, I don't like Bitcoin. It's an attack on the United States dollar. The fact that Trump tweeted that was prescient because that is what it is. And people didn't see it as that. They saw it as an alternative currency and a speculative asset. No one really took it seriously. None of the arrogant world dominant players that work for the IMF and people like that, none of them actually took it seriously as a threat. Now they have to, because a country has decided to make it legal tender. It's a different game now. And I think Bitcoin is designed to win it, but in the market is going to suffer a lot because people aren't ready for what's going to happen here. People are not ready at all. Like, this is going to get vicious, I think. Not to be too dramatic about it, but I think this is it. This is the beginning. We're out of the incubator now. Like, we've flown under the radar forever, and now it's the gloves are off, the mask is off. People see what Bitcoin's really here to do is to kill the central banks of America, of the Eurozone. Like, we're ready, and we're ready for it as well. We're ready to win it. But just this is not going to be for the weak-hearted, man. It's great to watch. Composed a song on Anjuna beats. Check out Mike St. Jules Flares. I'll give it a listen. Record. Sean Hannity is a Fox News teleprompt reader. Okay. Yeah, I got that wrong. Herr Hannity, you said first. So, okay, wait, hold on. I need to go back a bit. I'm deep and funny. Thank you, Mr. Electron. Sorry about this, guys. My chat broke on my YouTube stream, so I'm reading it off my phone here. You are deep and funny. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. They didn't even give him a shout out at the conference, didn't they? Assange? I felt like they did. I felt like Assange. There was a speech of Assange's that was broadcast there. I'm pretty sure that happened, but I think unfortunately, people know more about the conference than I do because I was there, which means I didn't notice any of what was going on. But I was just talking to people the whole time and trying to not get any more sunburnt than I already was. But it's unpleasant. I couldn't even get into the Nakamoto stage because there was only like 2,000-3,000 capacity, and there were 12,000 people there, so I could never be bothered to stand in line. I'm pretty sure though that Assange did have an appearance, maybe a recorded message, just like Ross Ulbricht. I think so. A multi-sig wallet with every citizen to vote for spending. Oh, I mean, yeah, like, I don't want to be pessimistic with that, but I don't think that's realistic. Funnily enough, with Taproot, we could actually do that. We could have an insane situation where you have like I don't know what the population of El Salvador is, but if it's like 50 million, you could have a thing where you need 40 million signatures for out of the 50 million people. Like, yeah, in theory, you can do all that sort of stuff, and that would be fine, and it would just look like a single normal transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it would really be El Salvadorians moving vast amounts of money to pay for things that, I mean, yeah, this is a super exciting idea. I don't see that coming though. I just intuit. I can't explain or break down why, but I don't think taxpayer money that ends up in the public purse can be spent in a way where everyone has, due to a smart contracting ability or multi-sig setups. I don't think it can be a case where you're like, yeah, we can't move this, because unfortunately, what happens. You need so many fail-safes. Like, people die, private keys get lost, and you need ways around that, because El Salvador can't have someone die, and now we can't move any of the public money we have, because it's sitting at an address that needs 20 signatures, and we only have 19, because someone died, and we can't find their private key, or even people just lost it. So there'll be all sorts of... what did you say? You said... yeah, you're saying multi-sig already, but, like, I mean... It can happen eventually. Something like that will happen, because smart money, the cat is out of the bag with smart money. So we're going to see something like that. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but it's not going to be on the primitive way that things are working at the moment. We can't have situations where people lose private keys and Bitcoins just disappear. So everything needs to get way more sophisticated for that. But without adding corrupt middlemen into it, that's going to be really difficult to do. The minute you use multi-sig and you have fail-safes for people losing keys, you introduce third parties into it, usually anyway. But there are things in Bitcoin's blockchain that can help with that. There are opcodes where we can say, after a certain amount of blocks, if you're able to spend in these conditions, but if those conditions can't be met because some private keys have been lost, you are able to spend after 10,000 blocks have been passed or something like that. You can do things like that within blockchain as well. But again, it still means money getting locked up. That is literally like, I have 10,000 Bitcoins. I can't spend a single one of them until, July 2028. Like, these conditions can happen, and you want to be careful of them. So anyway, Sean Hannity is a Fox News teleprompt reader. That sounds like a slight. Are you not particularly impressed with this guy? I don't know anything about him. Is he bad or good? I don't make assumptions because he's on Fox News, because Fox News does have some decent people. It's not necessarily... Oh, I know you, Premley Barbarossa. You were the guy that were responding to me on Twitter about COVID. I remember speaking to you about that. Thanks for watching the stream, man. You were talking about having had it and you had some issues from it. You are the only person I know that has ever had COVID. I've never met a single other human being that's had COVID. And you are the only person. I find this just stunningly amazing. And you're just someone I know from Twitter. Premley Barbarossa. If they don't legalize drugs, I can imagine there being a kind of ransomware. Tourists getting arrested and paying themselves out with Bitcoin. Yeah, I can see something like that happen. There's all sorts of scams. I was on tour in Germany once, and the bass player got arrested for smoking a joint. This was Bavaria, where weed is really illegal. It's not like the rest of Germany, where no one cares. And they fined him in pounds, British pounds, and we thought the whole thing was a scam. We wondered if they were even real police, because they were like, "Oh, £100 fine. Yeah, we'll take that." We're like, "What do you mean? How does that fit with any of your paperwork? Like, aren't you supposed to take euros? How are you fine with that?" And well, whatever. I got a gig to do, so here's the money. Legalizing drugs. Again, this is a good thing to bring up, though, because illegal drugs is another result of American oppression on Latin America, isn't it? It was only the Reagan administration going nuts about drugs that meant that we have this stupid approach to drugs that we have anyway. So if they're going to reject the US dollar, maybe they can reject the stupidity of the war on drugs as well. Though the war on drugs is actually something to be grateful for, because it gave us the Silk Road, which gave us the first use case for Bitcoin. So I'm not even mad at the war on drugs. It helps, it helped with a lot of things, believe it or not. It helped bootstrap Bitcoin. And that's an ugly thing that people don't really want to admit, but I think it's actually poetic and beautiful. This is the Bitcoin war. It really is. They had Julian's brother speak at the conference. Yeah, that's right. There was definitely support for Julian Assange from the organizers of that conference. Many pointed out that the internet coverage is awful in El Salvador, which kind of supposedly makes Lightning adoption difficult. Is there something in the works that could help? Good question. I don't know. But when there's a will, there's a way, and people are going to need this. So it will be sorted out. If the government... It will snowball, because the government's going to get very wealthy from this, and the population are going to get very wealthy. For a start, everyone using Strike or whatever Lightning app they're going to use to get money home, and given 25% of El Salvador's GDP comes from remittances, all of those remittances are going through fucking Western Union, who will take about 20% haircut on any money that's sent back to them from family members that went and worked in America. And it takes like a week or two to arrive, and for an El Salvadorian, you've got to make your way to a Western Union branch, and that's treacherous, as we know. We know how high the crime rate is there. So where are all the gangs located? They're obviously located around the few and far between Western Union branches that you go to. Oh, I've just got on a bus for 6 hours to get to a Western Union branch, and it's closed today because someone got shot there yesterday, and now I don't have any money for the next month. And even when I do go there, I've got to take forms of ID. And, can you imagine if you're like a 60-year-old woman and your son's sending you home money from America? First off, he's doing the worst job in America anyway. He's a poorly paid illegal immigrant, probably. Sends home his minimum wage. 20% of it gets sliced off by Western Union. It arrives there in 2 weeks. You spend 6 hours getting there. You've got to bring your ID, and then you have a target on your back. You walk out of a Western Union. You've got a bunch of government ID and a bunch of cash, and you don't have as much cash as you should, and now you've got to get all the way home. The fact that they can use Strike now and have money instantly without taking the haircut on it, that's what I find funny, because people are like, lol, Bitcoin's so volatile, how is this going to help them? I'm like, you're 20% up from what you were starting with in the first place. If Bitcoin doesn't crash by 20% in a day very often, occasionally it might do it, but you're 20% better off than you would be generally, and if you can hold, then you're going to be way up. I mean, 200% a year is our general approximate estimate for how much Bitcoin goes up. So I'm not accepting anyone shitting on that. This is a fantastic development for your average El Salvadoran. But one thing to remember is they could have done this anyway, but now it just gets more convenient for them. They don't need to come out of Bitcoin anymore. In 90 days, they could just stay in Bitcoin. They don't need to convert it to whatever the currency in El Salvador is. I don't know if they just use the US dollar or if that's just the main thing they use and they do have some other currency somewhere. I don't think they do, though. Yeah, internet coverage is a thing, though, but as everyone's life improves, as people get out of the bottom and start to move towards the middle class and start to live more luxurious lifestyles, yes, internet will become sorted out in El Salvador. There'll be campaigns to do it. I'm sure Jack Mallers is on it already. The IMF is going to offer a mountain of money at great terms to El Salvador, and maybe another mountain of dollars passed under the table to the major players to make BTC go away. I hadn't thought of that angle. I thought they were just going to go pure violent and threaten. But yeah, you're right. They'll probably provide a stick too. Like, okay. But that would... Do you think they'll do that? Because I think they do have to posture a bit. Like, and it's not... They have to posture a bit. They can't actually demonstrate to the world that they're terrified of this. So what they have to do is threaten and say, don't do it. But if it becomes clear that they're offering something that is a visible reward for not doing it to El Salvador, that just demonstrates fear, doesn't it? And I think that only delays the inevitable. They might do it. Again, I don't really understand the psychology that goes on at that level, if I'm quite honest with you, so I can't predict it. But I'm not sure exactly what happens there. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll say, please stop using... Because these people are... actually, that is the psychology of it. These people are used to being the most powerful, people in the world. They are used to having everyone bow down to them. So the idea for Christine Lagarde or whoever these fucks are, that they would go begging to the president of some backwater country that they've had under their boot for the last few decades, the idea that they would beg them and offer them loads of money, to me doesn't fit, because they're just so arrogant. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll do it at all. I think they'll just threaten, and I think they'll genuinely believe their threats when they say, okay, if you refuse, watch, Bitcoin's going to collapse, you're going to do terribly, and then they won't. I think that's what will happen. Geothermal energy towards mining Bitcoin, El Salvador. Yep, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see, and it's epic. Mining Bitcoins on a damn volcano is just so epic. I love it. It's not great that it's done by the state, but nonetheless, I'm still welling up thinking about it. Prem Lee, you retracted your message, so I'm not sure what you said. What's my favorite volcano? Good question. I love Mount Vesuvius in Naples. It's beautiful. I've never seen such a monstrosity of just angry murder and darkness and life all juxtaposed in one just dominating spectacle. Because, you know, in LA, you know, you've got the Hollywood Hills, you've got all that stuff. Like, in Canada, you've got beauty all around you. But in Naples, Italy, you've just got this giant crescent. There's millions of people living at the foot of this monster that you can see from everywhere. And you know this thing murdered millions of people every couple of hundred or 1,000 years. It's just such an angry black thing that just sits there in this perfect cone shape. And because volcanic eruptions are horrible for a short while, but then they create all this fertile land and this wonderful, attractive thing to go to. You know, it's like a volcano is very much like Bitcoin, isn't it? It will crash and wipe out everything you've done and completely make you just ruin your life savings if you don't know what you're doing, at least. But eventually it will give you life if you stick with it. And that's what volcanoes do. The soil and the ash just make the most fertile area for crops. So no one's ever asked me that before, but I went up to the top of it when I was in Naples, and to just the view from the top as well, to look down at the whole bay of Naples. It's honestly, it's unlike anything else. If tourism ever becomes a thing again, go to Naples. It's not, everyone else in Italy will tell you it's the worst place and it's shit, and they're wrong. Go there. It's amazing. Custody of reserves will be the problem. What's the problem though? I'm not so far behind. You're probably still here. James Creevy, custody of reserves will be the problem. What's the problem with that? I'm not sure. Why is that a problem? Of course it will be centralized. I'm not saying it's going to be like multi-sig in any meaningful way, but you know, governments can hold on to Bitcoin just like they can hold on to gold or whatever. And they can even do proof of reserves. They can say, these are our Bitcoin, this is the address, and it can be, you know, the president can hold one of the keys and sign messages from it every few months saying, you know, I still own this, I am president, whatever. I mean, it doesn't prove anything like you might expect, but all that happens is, you know, that whoever signed that message has the ability to spend those coins. So obviously they can be stolen from the president, and whoever has the private keys after having stolen them can sign a message and lie within the message that they're the president. But the point is, you can still do some sort of proof of ownership in Bitcoin using the ability to sign messages with the private keys that control an address where the bitcoins are located. Custody of reserves. I live in Miami. I've met many people who have had it. I see. Well, I'm just back from Miami. I have a bit of a headache today, but not even so bad. I might notice it and I'll decide not to stream. Do you think that I know you don't have the perspective I have on COVID. Do you think that the Bitcoin 2021 conference was a super spreader event? Do you think that's going to be a problem? Do you think we all have COVID? I've done 2 negative tests since then, but I know that the test would take a while to show me if I actually had COVID. But I mean, I feel like I'd be really feeling it now if I'd caught COVID, and I haven't noticed anything. But I do have a really healthy diet. I do eat. I do take vitamin D all the time, and there's a lot of zinc in my diet. So I feel like my body would just ignore COVID pretty much, or defeat it before having to get to the level of what the vaccines encourage you to do. Trinity, exactly. I don't know what you're responding to, but I agree. With whatever I said, I agree with it. A positive PCR test does not mean you had COVID. Yeah, I know, man. I don't know what cycle count they're using now. And apparently, which is really fraudulent, they're using a lower cycle threshold for vaccinated people than unvaccinated, which means that's just deliberate doctoring of the data to make it look like vaccines are doing better than they are. I know, and I've taken I've taken an NAAT test rather than a PCR test, and as far as I know, that's not. I don't think they're both a kind of PCR test. I think the NAAT test is not a PCR test. But I took it because they don't put the thing anything like as far up your nose. They only put it in like a centimeter, so it's not an invasive test, and it was cheaper and it was faster. So maybe people just don't know about them. But PCR tests are bullshit. The creator of them said this is not an appropriate use of this technology the way it's being used, and this was my problem, Prem, with this is my cognitive dissonance, because I can't tell if COVID is a really dangerous disease and it's way more fatal than we think it is, and the only reason we don't think it's fatal is because 90% of the people that think they have it are just getting a false positive test. That's one thing, or is it the other? This is a really safe disease because the tests are quite reliable, and so many people have had it that have had nothing happen to them that we need to stop worrying about it. And if we paid attention to the anomalies and comorbidities in people that are catching colds and flus over the years, we'd think those were super deadly diseases too. Because the flu is actually pretty deadly for a lot of people. If you're not doing great anyway, if you're on chemotherapy and you get the flu, you pretty much might die from that. But it's not called, like, we're just not obsessed with the flu. So I think it's just when you pay attention to stuff, you're like, wow, like millions of people die in car accidents every year. It's just no one cares. Millions of people die from obesity, cigarette smoke. No one cares. But, hundreds of thousands are dying from just a particularly bad seasonal flu. That's something we have to destroy the world over, is it? And remove all our civil liberties? It doesn't make sense. It's not justified. So anyway, sorry about going off on one there. I watched Narco on Netflix doing the shutdown, eye-opening. Okay, during the shutdown, you watch Narco. You mean Narcos, the thing about Pablo Escobar on Netflix. If you're talking about that, I've watched that. It's fantastic. One of my favorite series ever. And I've never watched stuff on Netflix, but I watched that. It was great. Laws are opinions backed by government violence. I agree. And because of Bitcoin, laws become optional advice that you don't have to follow at all, in my opinion. Mr. Electron says, lol again. I agree. Whatever I said was really funny. You just at Bitcoin Mechanic. Hello. That's Julian Assange's brother's speech. Thanks for turning me on to it. Yeah, no problem. I don't know. Someone mentioned that. It wasn't me. Julian Assange's brother is a great guy. I stayed in touch with him since the conference. He's dedicated to fighting for his brother's release, and I'm convinced that Bitcoin's success will result in Ross Ulbricht and Julian Assange's freedom because of these price dips. These price dips get rid of everyone from Bitcoin that isn't in it for the ideology, and the ideology of it is freedom. And everyone else disappearing from that means ultimately when Bitcoin dominates the whole world and it's the strongest thing there is, all of the people with the most Bitcoin are the most ideologically committed to freedom. So there's no way that the most ideologically committed to freedom people with the most money in the world don't figure out how to get Assange and Ross Ulbricht out of prison. So I'm stoked about that. He doesn't quite agree with me exactly. He thinks it's good, but it's not enough. We need a lot of lobbying to be done because this isn't the nature of Assange's charges are to do with computer crimes. It's not to do with journalism. So that's a little bit of a difficult one because they're ramping up the fear about computer use as well. They keep having these stupid false flag attacks. I mean, does anyone in this chat believe that these ransomware attacks on the meat plant and the oil pipeline. Does anyone believe they're really done by Russian hackers in this stream? Because the whole thing seems like a total scam to me. Namely the fact that they're saying the Bitcoin that was stolen or that were acquired by ransom were located on a server in America. That the FBI managed to conveniently subpoena and acquire. No one knows exactly how the story goes, but it smells fishy as hell. If you got the ability to hack into a pipeline infrastructure in America and get almost 100 bitcoins as ransom, I think you know how to use a Bitcoin wallet properly. I don't think you leave an unencrypted wallet.dat on some server in some building in the United States. So that whole story just doesn't add up. And the reason people aren't really asking questions is because people don't understand how Bitcoin works. But that was ridiculous. That's a lot of messages. Let me just catch up. Remember Coinbase announcing that they had bought BTC for MicroStrategy and did it without making the price go up? Why would it matter if the price went up? Aren't they acting like the Fed in that respect? I'm not sure I understand your question. For a start off, it was MicroStrategy's playbook. They bought in a specific manner. They bought something like $1 million, or like maybe, I don't know how much it was. They bought like 0.18 Bitcoin every 3 seconds for a whole weekend. And if there was ever a dip over 2%, they would buy like a whole $1 million or something like that. I can't remember their exact strategy, but that's how they stopped the price from going up, I think. Somehow they did it. They didn't make the price go up at all that weekend. But maybe it would have gone down if they hadn't, so you never know. Would it matter if the price went up? Aren't they acting like the Fed in that respect? You mean like if El Salvador were to buy Bitcoin and make the price go... First off, I think you overestimate how much money El Salvador have. If El Salvador dumped all their money into Bitcoin, I don't think it would even touch the sides, man. Like, okay, maybe a few $1 billion they have, and that would probably impact the price, because even Tesla only dumped 1.5 billion. But yeah, they could make it go up, but I don't understand how that would be them acting like the Fed. They're not printing anything. They're not manipulating anything beyond the reality of a market moving in response to people buying. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think they're acting like the Fed at all. I think they're acting responsibly. I think they're buying a proper hard asset to keep in reserve, rather than using the United States dollar, which will be used to enslave their population. No exaggeration there. Most of media reporting is propaganda funded through corporate interest. I was maskless the entire time at the conference. Cool. I'm glad to hear you were, man. I think the thing with masks that pisses me off is, if you don't wear a mask, great. You don't need to. It's probably not a scary disease, and you probably have nothing to worry about, so I support you in doing that. If you come at me and you're wearing a ridiculously insane mask, like an N95 or something like that, then fair enough. You're actually worried about the disease, and you're doing what might stop you from catching it. But if you're just wearing one of these stupid paper cloths over your face that's damp and moldy and bacteria-ridden, and you're doing so much harm to your lungs, and you're not even stopping yourself from getting the virus, then that's when you're an idiot. Or I assume you're like me and you're doing it because you're forced to do it. But that's what they require. They require the stupid option. They're not saying if you don't want to catch COVID, you need to wear something a lot better than these stupid masks. You need to wear something serious. They're not saying that. They're just saying wear a mask, maybe 2 actually. Like, there's no logic behind this thing. They're encouraging people to do it in the stupidest way. Most of the media reporting is propaganda. I also got the Johnson vaccine because I expect that to make travel this year and next year easier. I'm not paranoid about the vaccine killing me. I don't think it'll kill you, but like everyone I know that's had the vaccine has had a horrific side effect from it. Like, well, not everyone actually, but way more people have. I know lots of people that have suffered from this vaccine, and a serious suffering I'm talking about. And I don't know anyone that's caught COVID apart from you, Prem. The Johnson vaccine isn't mRNA, right? That's a different kind of vaccine. It's a more primitive style. I don't think you should be doing that, Prem. I don't support you in that at all. I don't think you should participate in a system that says you need... I don't think it's medical discrimination. You have a right to travel, and if they're going to deny that based on whether you've had a vaccine or not, that's evil. And participating in that and submitting to it just makes it harder for anyone else that wants to resist this unfair bullshit. So I don't support you doing that. I don't support anyone doing that. You have a duty to disobey unjust laws, because if enough people do it, then you're in. Then it makes it easier for everyone else, and we change the world in a good way. Like I respect your difference of opinion there, but I'm definitely not doing that. It's not that I'm worried it would kill me. I think the vaccine probably wouldn't affect me that much, but there are lots of people that they've already said, look, you can't take it if you're pregnant. They've said you can't take it if you have like allergies or immune issues, stuff like that. All those people, if you help turn the world into a world where you can only travel if you're vaccinated, all those people are going to be stuck, and that's not fair for them. But I also just don't think it's going to happen realistically. I think taking the vaccine preemptively because you assume it's going to make your life easier, you're going to regret that, because I don't think it's actually going to happen. I don't think they're going to start saying, you can't come in this restaurant, you can't get on that plane if you're not vaccinated. They keep not doing that. I think they're just going to keep doing what they're doing already, which is permanent lockdowns, permanent masks, and we're making every trip to the airport even more annoying because you have to combine it with COVID tests and more expensive. And it's the new 9/11. It's just measures that never go away. But I don't think they'll change from what they currently are. If Assange can survive, it'll be easier for Bitcoiners to lobby and influence politicians after we get rid of the people who are only in Bitcoin to profit. Yeah, exactly. They are false flags, cyber attacks. Completely agreed. The oil pipeline was bullshit. I don't believe for a minute that these hackers. I think it's all. I saw the meme. FBI successfully solves another FBI plot. Like, it's all just. Everything is them, lighting stuff on fire and putting it out and saying, look, we're so necessary. Who would have put out that fire if it hadn't been for us? Justifying their salaries. And of course, they'll get in again when Bitcoin is more profitable, but they won't be able to get as much Bitcoin. Yeah, true. I mean, they'll be back, of course. Hey, BTC Mech. Hi, Mahesh. Thanks for tuning in. If you have had COVID, you don't need a vax. You have immunity. I agree. Obviously, I agree. The World Health Organization changed the definition of herd immunity to once everyone is vaccinated. They got rid of the part where it says or has already recovered from the disease naturally. They actually changed that, which is pure Orwell. Hi, Ole. Nice to see you again, man. Is your brother here as well today? BTC price is back at mid 37k. Yeah, the BTC price is doing pretty well, let's be honest. But in my opinion, the fact that the news is so good at the moment, at least with regard to the kind of people that move markets, I think, obviously it's a mixed blessing, this El Salvador thing. But most people are going to see this as good news. And the fact that so many people are seeing this good news and buying, and they know that a country's about to buy, and they know that Michael Saylor's about to put another $500 million in, the fact that the price has only recovered this much tells me that the market just wants to go down at the moment. And again, not financial advice. I'm not about to sell or short because that's not why I'm here. But I think we see the 20,000, 25,000 area again. I think it happens. And that's, everyone gets to laugh at us. But I like it because if we crash down that low, like Bitcoin has already risen against all the shitcoins today. If Bitcoin crashes down to 25k, what's that? Like, what is that? Like a 40% drop from here? God, all the shitcoins will be down 60, 70%. Dogecoin will be practically under 10 cents. That would be so beautiful to see. And then Bitcoin recovers because guys, my prediction is it's late summer that we see the bull market obviously and unequivocally return to Bitcoin. And everyone can't believe it because we were at 20k and I didn't buy. We were at 25k, I didn't buy. I keep saying 20k. I don't think we'll go down to 20k. 25k is the equivalent of the COVID crash, March 20th last year. Or was it March 12th? Can't remember. That was the COVID crash. You got to buy Bitcoin at $3,800. That's just an impossible price that you'll never ever see again, and that will be what 25k is at some point this month, in my opinion. But then again, what do I know? I'm not a fortune teller. Most of the rules are quite illogical. We all understand it's about control, not public health. I'm glad to hear you say that, man. That's a good thing to acknowledge, and I appreciate you saying it. Um, yeah, it's just complete. The fact that it's about control tells me that even if like COVID was quite dangerous, seriously, like if it was a good order of magnitude more dangerous, there's just not, you cannot justify the government's telling you you're not allowed out of your house and you're not allowed to travel and you're not allowed to fucking say goodbye to your great grandma while she dies while she's at her deathbed. What's of course there's no logic to it, as you say, because they're about to die anyway, but the fact that you don't get to say goodbye to people when they're dying, the fact that kids don't get to run around and play with each other anymore, the fact that they have to wear masks all day at school when we know the disease is no threat to them, the fact that there's this much authoritarian control to me tells me, like, fuck COVID, get out in the streets and protest and push over the establishment until they just cannot maintain these restrictions anymore. Everyone needs to fucking take the mask off on the plane. Everyone. Like, the airports need to become complete blocked. Like, okay, we had to shut 10 airports in America because of maskless protests. Like, that's what I want to see. Instead, it's like, me and 3 other people with the below the nose mask. That's it. That's all you see. And then everyone's looking at us a bit like, oh, you might kill someone. Just people have been so blinded by fear. It's just awful to see. I asked you last time. Yeah, you did. I remember that. And I had to end the stream because I had to jump on a phone call. Sorry about that, Ole. I asked you last time about the possibility of a fake taproot signalization. I responded. I wrote a bunch in the chat, but I think the chat doesn't work after I end the stream or something like that. What would happen with a fake taproot transaction, basically, is you were saying in the instance where a miner, a miner was fake signaling. So they signaled for taproot activation, but they weren't actually running the upgraded software. So the reason it can cause a chain split and it would be annoying, but it's also one of the things that's just not going to happen. The reason it's not going to happen is because what a miner has to do is, with regard to the unupgraded miner and any nodes on the network that aren't actually fully validating now because they no longer understand, they don't understand the taproot transactions because they haven't upgraded yet. By the way, that's everyone. We don't actually have... we can activate taproot, but we don't actually understand the address types yet. Betch 32M. We've still got a way to go, but it's fine. It's not until November. Anyway, I digress. If a taproot transaction to a non-upgraded node looks like an anyone can spend script, it doesn't understand the conditions in which that need to be fulfilled for the transaction to be properly valid to a node that does understand taproot. So that's like SegWit. Remember that anyone can spend SegWit, where Craig Wright and his team said, if you send Bitcoin to a SegWit address, anyone can spend it, not just you. And that's true for nodes that didn't understand SegWit, but it's not true for nodes that do understand SegWit. They will all reject the transactions where anyone spends it except for the person that was actually supposed to be able to spend it. That will be the same thing for taproot. So what that means is a miner, if they're fake signaling, they might include a transaction in a block that was spent fraudulently, a taproot transaction that was spent fraudulently, that will generate a block that will be rejected by all the nodes that do understand taproot and all the miners that understand taproot. So that miner would make an invalid block, and it would only be accepted by the network, the parts of the network that weren't upgraded yet. That would be a disaster for that miner, so they're not going to do that. So if they are fake signaling, that doesn't matter. They don't need to actually upgrade until November. But when November comes, they need to be upgraded, because if anyone does generate an invalid taproot transaction according to the proper rules, they won't understand that. They'll accept it. They'll stick it in a block, and they'll have the network reject their blocks. So, yeah, that is. I hope that's the answer to the question. I think I'm remembering what you asked correctly, Mahesh. You retracted your message, so sorry I missed that the first time, but I guess you didn't want me to see it anyway. Prem again. I left the school system because I didn't want to force these rules on children. Us too, man. We took our little girl out of school. There's no way we're going to put her in a mask for 7 hours a day. No way. It's unnecessary for her. And I have a baby who, when she reaches 2 years old, if the airlines on all of my travels said 2 years old and up have to wear a mask, there is no way in hell I'm putting a mask on my 2-year-old, and she'll just pull it off straight away anyway, because these things are uncomfortable and horrible. And if she pulls it off and we get kicked off the flight, I don't know what I'll do exactly, but it's not going to be. It's going to be pretty disagreeable. I think I'll put it that. I think I'll put it that way. I answered it all good. All right, Mahesh. Hey, shall we do some price analysis just as a joke? Because I have no idea how to do price analysis, but it's always funny, isn't it, when I do stuff like that? What are we at here? Yeah. What are we looking at? Monthly chart. Oof. I don't know why it does this. This is trading view. Let's get rid of all these. That's an ugly looking month was May, wasn't it? But June, what have we got? A shooting star candle. That's not bad. No, a dragonfly candle. That's what we've got. These are good, but June hasn't been going on very long. If we have this low, but a higher low, that's nice to see. I think June's the end of the bear market, guys. I think we might jut down there to that moving average. Maybe that's 22,000 roughly, or somewhere around here. I think we jut down there. But on the other hand, this makes sense because this candle's high, that candle's low. I think this makes sense. We might have already bottomed out, guys. It's possible we have. Here we are. What's this? The weekly chart. Weekly, if I'm believing the tone phase indicator, the MRI, this is the week to buy. And that's also a very good looking candle, but we're only on Wednesday. If this is the next week, I'd expect to go up based on that candle. We got a monthly and weekly dragonfly candle. What's this? The daily. Daily's got a downward triangle, awful. So that implies. What does that imply? A price of 24,000. Again, there's a few indicators saying we're going to go that low. The RSI is trending up though, so that looks pretty good. The funding rate. Ooh, I think the power just died in my house. But I have a UPS, no worries with that. The funding rate looks good for bulls. The RSI is trending up beautifully. Let's see what the RSI is like for the weekly. The RSI is trending down, of course. Yeah, I don't know. Technical analysis ain't my forte, guys. I just thought I'd dabble in it for a second. So, yeah. Sorry about that. I got knocked offline for a second. I'm not sure if everyone's still there. Are you all still there? Hey, BTC Sessions, man. Good to see you. It's so good to meet you at Bitcoin 2021, man. Legendary. Are you going to upload any of those interviews you did? Where can I find them, man? Yeah, that was a lively interview. Today. All right, man. I see you've got caps lock. You got caps lock on. I like to see that, man. A great Canadian. Man, let me tell you, BTC Sessions, man, I'm serious. Me and my girl and my family, we're going down to Texas next month. And we're going to check out Austin. It's apparently the Bitcoin capital. And we're going to check it out because I don't like the direction Canada's going. And the idea is to leave before it turns into Australia and you're not allowed out of the country anymore. So I think I'm going to try and get us out pretty soon. Or get us out, as you Ontarians would say. I think I missed a few messages here. Thank you for answering your question. I never thought about Coinbase meaning they could buy large amounts of BTC at the lowest price possible for their customers. I'm not sure I even mentioned that. But you're welcome, man. It seems to me that if the next market crash happens, it will be due to the closure of cryptocurrency exchanges. I hope they do that, man. As I've said before, I love it when governments make it illegal and stuff, because all they do is ruin their own ability to control Bitcoin. If you make Bitcoin illegal, price goes up. Of course it goes up, because that's what happens when you make something illegal. I always say cocaine would cost how much salt costs if it was legal. But the only reason it's expensive is because it's illegal. So make Bitcoin price go up and make everyone use it properly with self-custody. I love it when governments make Bitcoin illegal. Everyone's got to use BISC. Everyone's going to pay over the odds for it. Price up. Like, everyone learns self-custody. Beautiful. Please, governments, come at me, bro. Do it. I welcome the low. Stacking more sats. Exactly, man. I wish I had a job and that I could buy more sats, and then I could be even more stoked when the price drops. I mean, to me, if the okay, yeah, I already read that message. I expect a collapse in December or January. Interesting. That would be kind of a repeat of 4 years ago and 4 years before that. I see that, but I don't believe in the 4 year thing that everyone else believes in. I think it's a bit hocus pocusy, and I think COVID accelerated the timeline of hyperinflation in reliable Western currencies. Voxaholics Anonymous, absolutely high level FUD from the top. Bullish on volcanoes. Me too, man. The memes today, the memes, bro. Just how. Why didn't we think of it? Is someone made Volcano coin yet? Like, how do I invest in Volcano coin? Because I'll buy that for one day, just for fun. Alright, I'm joking. I would never buy a shit coin, guys. But please, someone, shill me Volcano coin. Or Volcano network, or Volcano token. Whatever it is. You can always count on govs to fuck it all up. Yeah, but no, they require... Bitcoin is government proof, remember? It'll be fine. No way, it's not going to be fine. Yeah. Alright, man. I think I got to jump off now. That was a good stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm glad you were here in... hold on. New FUD. Bitcoiners are using too much magma and cooling the earth. I know, man. Like, it's coming. It's like... it's coming. Bitcoin miners are dying because they're breathing in too much sulfur while working on the side of a volcano. Like, don't you know how many people volcanoes have killed over the years? Like, come on, man. We know it's coming. It's how much more ridiculous can the FUD? The energy FUD was always disingenuous in the first place. We are the greenest industry. There's no other industry that uses the percentage of renewables that we use. So that FUD was always lies from the beginning. So I expect I don't know, man. But BTC sessions, what do you think about the IMF and the US government going to meet with El Salvador tomorrow? Like, how do you think that's going to go? Because some people in the chat are saying, that it's going to be, they're going to offer them loads to not do it. I think they're just going to threaten. I don't think they're going to do both. I think they're just going to say, if you do this, we will impose sanction after sanction after sanction. We are going to absolutely run you into the ground. You cannot possibly think of escaping the US dollar. Like, I think they'll do that. And I think they're too used to bully tactics. I don't think they want to have to humble themselves to... I don't think it's being used as a negotiating tactic by El Salvador that's willing to abandon these plans just to get more favorable treatment. So if they do go and get offered more favorable treatment, I think they actually might show some integrity and stop. I think they're going to dangle that loan threaten. Right. But the incentives from outside investment is so much more. Yeah, I hope the incentives alone make it work out. I hope that's enough. Thanks for all you do for the BTC community. Respect. You're welcome, Mahesh. I really appreciate you saying that. I honestly didn't expect to get as much support starting this channel, but I get like a nice couple of messages every day from people, and I really appreciate it, guys. It means more to me than you might know. So definitely keep sending me those messages. It encourages me to keep this channel going. If I didn't have this channel, I wouldn't have done what I did with my business or with the Taproot client or been invited to Bitcoin 2021 or any of that stuff. And really, it's all thanks to my girl for encouraging me to do this, because I've been in Bitcoin for 10 years and I've been lurking the whole time. And she just got into it, after meeting me. I sort of got her excited about it, and then she finds all these people and she's like, none of them know anything. None of them have any of the experience, and they're all got these huge successful YouTube channels and the Twitter followers, and they're crypto influencers and all that. You need to do this because they're all lying and they all don't know what they're talking about. So she encouraged me, and I'm doing it, and I'm realizing I know more than I thought I did, or that I give myself credit for, at least. New FUD. It's hard when you are all in and the price drops and you can't buy the dip. Might sell a kidney. I know, man. Who really needs 2 kidneys anyway? Thanks for all you do. Yeah, I think they're going to dangle, blah, blah. Sorry, man. El Salvador will probably get sanctioned. Yeah, I think that's what I'd expect too. But I mean, big difference. I mean, what difference does it make? I've heard people talk about Cuba getting excited about it as well, and that would be funny because they're the most authoritarian country, pretty much outside of North Korea and China. Like, they're ridiculous. Like, it's lifetime in prison if you fuck with the police or insult one of the politicians or something like that. They're ridiculous. So if they suddenly give their population Bitcoin, that's going to be an interesting juxtaposition, isn't it? Yeah, BTC sessions. Can you send me a link when you get all this stuff up? I really want to see it. I was really hyped during that interview I did with you. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. The Trojan horse meme is playing out. Exactly. I think this is back to what I was getting on at the beginning of this stream when it comes to the mixed blessing of a state sanctioning Bitcoin and adopting it and kind of almost forcing it on their population. It doesn't matter because what they're forcing on their population is something that their population should be using to root around them anyway. So if they want to turn around and be assholes about it and say, oh no, you're not allowed to use Bitcoin outside of custodial wallets anymore that are produced by the government, or we're going to make an El Salvador coin and you can replace it one-to-one with Bitcoin for the next 6 months, and after that Bitcoin's illegal. If they want to do any of these stupid authoritarian moves, Bitcoin was designed to be government-proof. It will root around all that shit, and El Salvador will just be crushed by it. So it's a Trojan horse, because if they think they're going to get more powerful, and in the most cynical world, if I'm saying President, I can't remember his name, but if the president and the politicians just want to increase their power by doing this, and they're all selfishly motivated, they don't really care about their population, just by doing what they're doing, they're going to make themselves irrelevant, whether or not they realize it. Of course, their name will go down in history as being the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. But all Bitcoin does is, it's like if we elect Ron Paul. Ron Paul will go, thanks for electing me. Now I'm going to undo all of my power. I'm going to get rid of it because I'm a libertarian ideologically. They're embracing a libertarian technology, El Salvador, and that means their population now has the ability to ignore them. And to what extent they can also benefit from the country's adoption of it. So congrats on El Salvador for doing it, but the Trojan horse is real. That's a powerful meme and it's really accurate. Thanks from New Zealand. You're welcome, man. I guess you just got up. In my opinion, Austin, Texas is a very liberal town. I hope you love it as much as I do. Liberal is a good thing. It's what I am, but I don't like what the word means now. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. It doesn't mean letting people live their lives. It doesn't mean liberal as in libertarian. It just means, I don't know, liberal with regard to things that we should be doing and we attack instead. I don't know about that. I usually don't use the word liberal because it doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean anymore. Yeah, but nonetheless, can you tell me a good part of it? Because I want to go to a part of Austin that has, that's not big city center, filthy, polluted, 24 hours, that sort of thing. But I don't want to go to urban sprawl either. I don't want to just go to the middle of the suburbs and you've got 4,000 identical houses, each with an RV outside. Like, no thanks. I want to go to somewhere that's got a town, a boutique, some cool stuff, a yoga studio, a music shop, vinyl, something like that. But at the same, like a float tank maybe, that would be cool. Everywhere takes Bitcoin, ideally, that would be great. But it's a smaller town and kids can sort of run around and it's safer. That's what I want in Austin. If anyone knows of a town like that, that's where we'll go. And we'll be spending July there. So if you can recommend it, if you can rep your town. I wish this channel had the reach where I had 100 people from Austin watching right now, but I doubt I even have one. I've always been liberal, too much virtue signaling attached to it now. Yeah, of course, I'm a liberal too, but I would never say that because I know what that means now, and I don't want to be associated with that. Liberals are not, it's just classic George Orwell. Liberal just means I want to control other people, which is the opposite of what liberal's supposed to mean, so fuck that. Yeah, alright, I should jump off now, guys. It's been a really good stream. It's been awesome discussing this stuff. Get ready to summarize. This is the war. This is now, Bitcoin is no longer in its infancy. Bitcoin is now seriously considered, as of Trump's announcement, an attack on the US dollar. And the fact that it's being acknowledged by the world's top politicians now as what it is, which is an attack on the US dollar, and ultimately something that will dethrone fiat and the US dollar. The fact that it's seen as this means that people are waking up. They understand what it is now. There's no way Trump would have acknowledged it as serious before. It's a joke, it's a con, it's highly speculative asset, all this bullshit. Now it's not. Now it's a threat to the US dollar. Thank you, Trump. That's exactly what it is. And we expect everyone to fight, and we're going to win that fight. But this is the war. This isn't the block size war. This isn't any of those battles. This isn't Elon Musk. It's not Roger Ver. It's not Mt. Gox. It's not terrorists use it. It's none of this bullshit. It's finally the actual war. Like, it started June 2021. We are now at war. And get ready. Get ready and hodl and educate and be brave. Have a spine. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone.